Well, hello everybody, and welcome to a later edition of the Checkdown. I'm Bobby Melendez, joined always by Dave Stager and Russ Morgan. Very excited for today's show. Happy to have Stager back. He was out last week watching Moana. Was it worth it? That's what. Before we get into
Moana
anything,
2 was amazing. Like I already loved the first one, and the second one I liked it.
okay. Yeah, I
it was
heard Moana
worth
2
it.
is off the chain. I heard it's really good.
Yes.
You know, it's not a movie that you go, as I don't want to do the man thing, but you go, oh, I'm gonna go see that movie. But you read about it, you go, damn, this looks like. And I actually enjoyed Moana 1 when I watched it with my kids, so I figured Moana 2 would be pretty damn good.
Yeah, it goes more into the Polynesian storyline of like the history of that and what they believe in, and it's awesome. I love it.
I might go. Maybe it's a good place to pick up some single moms.
Anyway,
speaking of that,
I got a dad joke. I got a dad joke real quick.
All right, go for it.
Speaking of, because it's like Bobby's first name too. What do you call Robert with a big toe?
What do you call Robert with a big toe?
Roberto.
My
wife looked at me like, I effing hate you. And I'm like, yes, that means it was good.
That's when you know it was good. When they can't say nothing to you guys over that. But hey, for a lot of talk about with the NFL, we're into week 14 now. Mm-hmm. Playoff spots are being secured. Thank you to the Green Bay Packers who lost the Detroit Lions. We're going to talk about that. Get Stager's opinion on that game. Bill Belichick, is he thinking about coming back to coaching? Is he coming back to the NFL, or is he going to college? And of course, as we get closer towards the end of the season, we've already had one head coach fired out of Chicago. He should have been after that mess. 2 coaches now. Is it 2 coaches? Oh, Robert Saleh. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
A long time ago.
Saleh. Sorry. And so 2 coaches down. But as we get closer, you look around the league, and there could be other coaches, more than likely, who will be canned by the end of the season. We call that Black Monday. We're going to talk about who's on the hot seat, who should be on the hot seat, and who knows, there might be a surprise or two who might be on the hot seat as well. Stager always has one up his sleeve. No pressure. And then finally, we'll get to our week 14 picks and roll on from there. But as we go forward, let's get into it. The Detroit Lions secure their playoff bid after defeating the Green Bay Packers. I mean, before we get into that game, it's crazy to see where the Lions used to be, where they were not too long ago to where they are right now. That's what's awesome about football. They're an awesome and I know it's probably going to be hard for Stager to say. Not really. I know how he is, but it's awesome to see that development in that football team to where they were, to where they are right now. The draft picks that they've made coming into fruition and performing and being what they are. Their coach, Dan Campbell, hard to hate him. The fire he brings to that football team. And, to be able to say, holy crap, December 6th, the Lions secured a playoff bid. That's one of the top teams in the NFC. Huge win, huge moment for the Detroit Lions. We'll start with Stager. Stager, before we, you get your thoughts into the game.
Yeah.
How for real are the Detroit Lions? Like, should this be a team where when it comes playoff time, they're there already? Should it be a team where we all go, this is a team that could possibly go all the way?
They're tied with the best team in the NFC with the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, they're no questions asked. Like, those 2 teams are rolling right now. They're that good, and they're just finding ways to win. That's what matters, is to get the W on the actual win column, and they're doing it week in and week out. So the Lions, I give full respect to. They're a hell of a football team. Like I said, they may be a rival. Do I hate losing to them? Yes, of course. But guess what? I respect it. Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes built that team the right way. Martha Ford, a couple years ago, gave Sheila Ford the CEO rights, and they've completely overhauled their team. And I've said it year in and year out since she's taken over. I fully respect her even more as the new CEO because she went out of her way to tie loose ends with Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders and Chris Spielman. Lions legends, and she went out of her way to make them feel appreciated in the Lions lore of football. So for that alone, that's just a bunch of respect. Then you go on and hire Dan Campbell. Look, they've just built a monster you don't want to face. Like the Packers made, like few mistakes, and it cost them the game. You have to play perfect to beat a team like the Lions because they're that good. They can make mistakes and afford it. That's how good they are. So the Lions are for real.
Russ, what do you think about the Lions, man, and what they are this season? And is this a team that you would say that team should take seriously?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's 100%. You got to take this team seriously, Bobby. And I'm with Stanger. Like what they've done it the right way. Kind of, got rid of Matt Stafford there, who's a Lions legend. Brought in Jared Goff, who was the guy, who was, McVay shipped him off thinking, oh, he can't get it. He can't win us a Super Bowl. Goff is looking phenomenal. And, it's not like he's more even a game manager almost, I would say. Well, I guess a little more than a game manager. But what they did, their defense does scare me a little bit at times. I mean, you're giving up 31 points to the Packers. You're going to be going, if you go up against the Eagles, maybe you'll be in Philadelphia, maybe not. But, I guess it really doesn't matter if they play Philly at home or away. They play them at home, it's in a dome, so Philly's going to have that same, going to be playing inside, so they won't be against the weather. So the defense does worry me, but that offensive side of the ball is electric. I'm excited for next week when they play the Bills. I'm pumped for that game.
That's going to be a fun game. And Russ, I'll just start with you on this and then finish it up with Stager. The Packers, I don't think anybody doubts the Packers as one of the better teams in the NFC, probably in the NFL, should take them seriously. But seeing what you saw yesterday, is this a team where it's kind of like, can they survive in the playoffs? Can you see them going deep in the playoffs?
My thing with the Packers is like they're obviously. I think they embody. What the Packers embody is kind of like Big Ten football, where we're going to dominate you with the run, and they did that with Aaron Jones, and they did that. Now they're doing that with Josh Jacobs. My thing with the Packers is it's just week to week where you kind of see receivers disappear. Where week before Jaden Reed goes off, and then he does nothing last night. So I think that's kind of going to hurt him. Where Jacobs, the guy gashes on the ground. But who's going to be that receiver is going to step up week to week?
Mm-hmm.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree. Like there's no consistency. I was upset Reed was not used, and LaFleur comes out and says, "Oh yeah, well that's on me." Well, no shit. I know why it's on you because you weren't having him get the routes to get open. To me, Reed is the most overall dynamic wide receiver in the room. He's not the tallest, he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, but the guy is just a dog. He goes up and gets the ball. He doesn't have the drops like Dontavian Wicks does or Watson does, which, like I said, we made minimal mistakes. But the thing is, those mistakes, like Watson, trying to get the extra 3 yards when we already had the 30 yards on the catch, just go down, go out of bounds. Like you're costing us time. And that right there, we would have been in field goal range. The score was 34-31. Would have been tied if you look at it that way, and possibly going into overtime. The Lions send it to overtime to kick it that way. But no, simple mistakes beat the Packers. And it's like we find ways to beat ourselves. And I'm not taking anything from the Lions, but we were in position to win the game multiple times and put our foot on their throat. And guess what? We always find a way to kind of load the gun and shoot ourselves in the foot instead. And that's something I'm hoping we can learn from, because Matt LaFleur has been there long enough now, to especially with the second year of this young team together. Even with Rodgers before, how warm is his seat getting? I'm not saying it should be burning hot, but now it's your second year with Jordan Love. Love looked good in the second half, but at the same time, now your guy Jeff Hafley you brought in for your defensive coordinator just got toasted for 34 points. So you got to sit here and take some real leadership and ownership right here if I'm LaFleur, and go into next week after this and just either wash it from your memory and learn from it and be able to go into next week. And I feel like the Packers, I mean, they went to the divisional round last year and almost upset the 1 seed in San Francisco last year. Like, they were that close. So I feel like they can be a team that can be dangerous in the playoffs. I feel like they're missing a guy or two right now. Like, Edrin Cooper was out, Jair Alexander was out, Romeo Dobbs was out. It was big, and it showed in those areas of the team because Dobbs, as much as I'm even the guy on social media saying, "Oh, Romeo Dobbs, this offense can run without him." I'm eating my crow right now because last night he would have been the guy catching the passes from Love on the last read, and he would have been going up the field for about maybe 15, 20 yards. So, yeah, I'm eating crow on that, and I think we need those guys more now than ever to get back healthy. So we have a mini bye week with after Thursday. We'll play the following Sunday. Hopefully we can get those guys back going into Seattle the following week.
I mean, but it's the thing. They're going to have to figure it out because, I mean, Washington's right there behind them.
Yeah.
You want to get the 7 seed where you're going to have to either play the Eagles or the Lions right off the bat, where maybe you get a Seattle in the first round instead of, I mean, those two, having to play those two right off the bat. So, I mean, they're going to have to. And, I mean, you still got a tough game against Minnesota. And, I mean, Chicago at the end of the year, I know it's the Bears, but it's still a division game.
It's a win against the Bears. I'll take that all day long. We have 11 in a row against them, man. There's one thing. Listen, it's death, taxes, sweep the Bears twice a year. That's my thing. Like, sorry, Bears fans, beat us until you can prove it. But I am going to say this. Yes, they do have a tough schedule coming up with Seattle, Minnesota on their schedule as well. And I think they do get in the playoffs. I don't think they'll get 7th seed. I think it'll be 6. I do think it'll probably be the 6th seed because if Minnesota keeps winning out, even if we get the W over them, I think they have the tiebreaker in the division over us. So they would probably get that 5th seed. So, yeah, I mean, I could see us being the 6th seed. And Russ, this is the way I look at it. If you get in the playoffs, you're facing a number of good teams. You're not facing teams like, oh, they shouldn't have been there. The NFC is loaded this year. No matter who you're playing, they're going to be good.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on. We'll get into now Bill Belichick. I mean, after he left the Patriots last season, interviewed for a couple NFL coaching jobs. Nothing came in. Nothing worked out. It was Atlanta, and I think it was. I know it was Atlanta. I don't know what the other team was, but didn't work out. So he took time off, did a TV job, but now, obviously, throughout the season, his name keeps coming up in NFL circles about potential openings. That obviously now Chicago just opened up. We know Dallas has been rumored, the Raiders possibly. Alex brought that up, Dave, on East 10th Street Boys. But here's something brand new that came out that's surprising. Is Bill Belichick interviewing with North Carolina college football. And it actually is getting to a point now where, we have some negotiation details that have come out from North Carolina. Ole Connolly of The Guardian, he wrote that per sources, he's told Bill Belichick's negotiations with North Carolina include a guarantee that Stephen Belichick would be named the school's head coach in waiting. UNC is open to that guarantee. Discussions are not a bid to gain leverage for NFL offers, and Bill Belichick is open to the move. His preference is, of course, to remain in a return to the NFL, but the landscape is considered thin based on the feedback from the league. Moving to college with a guarantee for his son will overall rating in the NFL carousel. Stephen Belichick has already been approached about some college head coaching opportunities. He has taken Washington's defense from 28th to 28th this season after they finished 50th last year. So, before I get your guys' reaction, I started going, man, Bill Belichick in college football, that's crazy. It's a different landscape. It's not the NFL. But then when you start to really think about it and you see, and Russ, you could really speak to this, what college football is now. You have players, really, like you got teams buying players, paying for players, giving them money, throwing them money here to come to their university. It's really becoming like the NFL, where it might not be as crazy for a coach like Bill Belichick to jump to college football when he's only known to pros. and to possibly take over a team where obviously his name's huge. A lot of players are going to jump at that opportunity to say, I played for Bill Belichick in North Carolina. And he could get some good players if they open up their checkbooks for those the NILs. So for me, after I really thought about it, it's like, it's not as crazy. And Bill Belichick saying, hey, I've won in the NFL. I have 6 championships, 5. I don't have, I've done it all. I want to go win a national championship in college. That's how he is. That's his mindset. And yeah, you know what? Taking care of his son. Obviously his son has earned his stripes in the league. He's done his work. But good for good on him to try to take care of his son. Look out for him. Say, hey man, let's give him an opportunity. Let's get my son on my staff to give him that role later on when he retires. Does it happen? I'm not so sure yet. I think Belichick waits until he finds out if there's no real opportunity to go into the NFL, especially a job that might be, maybe Jacksonville, which we'll get into hot seats a little bit. But let's Stager, I'll let you start off. Just your thoughts on Bill Belichick interviewing with North Carolina. Does it surprise you? Can you see it actually going down? And what could this mean for college football?
Well, I know for one thing, it doesn't surprise me. They just hired Mac Brown before him, so they're not against hiring old age coaches. I will say this: Belichick is the type of guy that wants to prove that he can go win a college championship. And guess what? There's always the talk of, remember, Belichick versus Saban, the greatest coach of all time, no matter what. What better way to put that to rest than go try and win a national championship after you win how many Super Bowls as a coordinator and head coach? And then Saban's like, I can't say anything now because, people, I know, I get it. Saban is amazing as a college coach. NFL, he was, and Bobby can attest to this, he was dog crap. Nick Saban, I am not leaving for college. Literally the day after. Left. But actually, I got news on that. Bill Belichick has accepted a second interview with North Carolina, sitting down. So a little bit of breaking news there. Just got past that a little bit ago. He is actually having a second interview with North Carolina. So it is serious, and it's not just like, North Carolina checking the temperature on it. Yeah, it's getting close.
Oh man, Russ, your thoughts on this? And we'll get to Scotty's question right after.
I don't know if he does it, man. I think it's more just like Belichick. Okay, I'm ready to get back into coaching. I mean, that'd be pretty amazing to go from one legend to another legend because Mac Brown's a legend in college football.
Coach.
He's so it'd be crazy. I don't know if he does it. I think there'll be a couple jobs that will probably interest Belichick. Cowboys, maybe. I couldn't see him going to Oakland with Brady there.
I agree with that.
After what happened with kind of that split and what happened with the whole Jimmy G thing. So I couldn't see that, but I think it's more Belichick's putting out there that he's ready to get back into it. I would say if you're going into college, I think Ohio State's going to be open unless they win the national title. Unless they make the title game, I think that job's going to be open. I'd say if that was open, I'd take Ohio State over UNC. But because we're really getting down to it, a lot of these UNC guys will either be practice squad players, and there'll be a handful that make the roster because UNC is not like a dominant program.
Not if the transfers go ahead and come in.
But if you're telling me, hey, I can go to UNC, get playing time, and play with under Bill Belichick, go for it. You'd be all up for that. So it'd be a hell of a signing. It'd shake things up, and maybe it's more like the NFL that he came into, where it's like, they're making money, but they're not making as much as the players are now. So it's more like, college football is more like NFL was in the early 2000s.
I will say too, very quick, Scotty, always thank you, brother, for tuning in. Scotty says, what would mean more, a national championship or Shula's record? My answer, I think, for Shula's record, obviously, I don't want him to get it, but for Shula's record, to me, Belichick, first off, it's not going to matter if he can't get a job in the NFL. But Schuler's record could, he could always say if he goes to college football, he could be like, I could have got it. I could have got a job in the NFL. I would have got it eventually because I'm that close. But I think a national championship would mean more because you did it in the NFL. And now you just, in the end of your career, you went to college and you did it in college. Yeah. To me, then he could legitimately claim or have a legitimate argument. I'll say that because it will be an argument still, that he is the, if not one of the right there greatest coaches of all in football, if he could win a national championship.
I think I look at these guys like how much like competitive nature they have. You look at Hardball, who probably could have had a lifetime contract with Michigan, being a Michigan man, winning the national title, beating Ohio State 3 times. He probably could have had a lifetime contract in Michigan. They paid him for life. And he goes, no, I won the title. I won a national title in college, but I want to win the Super Bowl. Like, I could definitely see Belichick be like, hey, I've won 6. I want to win a national title. Like, the competitive nature these guys have is insane.
100%. Now, talking about coaches, with Belichick possibly going to college football if he does not get a job in the NFL, but breaking news from Stager, he has accepted a second interview with North Carolina, so things could be moving fast for Bill Belichick. We'll keep our eyes on that. Stager bomb. Hey, let me just say, shout out Dave Stager. I wrote it down. I shared it yesterday on Overtime when I was in the comments with Stanza and Greg. And I don't want to say I manipulated words so it was more clear, but let me tell you something. I don't know if you got that from anybody else. If you haven't, write it down, put it on top of your banner. I wrote you at mediocre cost you draft picks and playoff spots. Mediocrity cost your team draft picks and playoff spots. I mean,
you gotta make it right. You say it cost you draft spots and playoff spots.
It's draft spots. But oh my goodness, one of the greatest things I ever read, and it's so freaking true to talk about mediocrity. A mediocre team in the NFL. But my goodness, moving on, coaches on the hot seat. So, to the title to today's episode, it obviously comes close to home for me as a Dolphins fan. And, you follow the Twitter spaces and the noise around the league and the noise around the fan circles, the Dolphins Twitterverse. And so I said, let me, instead of talking about just McDaniel, we'll go around the league and talk about different head coaches who are possibly in the hot seat. But not that really anybody really is coming out saying he's on the hot seat. There hasn't been like a really big report. Some rumblings from analysts and whatever, pundits, really it's from the fan base. So I will speak for me, and then I'll let you guys answer in regards of McDaniel, and then we'll get him around the league. For me, I believe he should be on the hot seat. Plain and simple. I understand. It's 3 years, right? And we go, every 3 years, blah, blah. You do it until you win, until you get it to a consistent winner. This team, you spend a lot of cap space, a lot of draft capital, a lot of hype on this team. You went into this season with a third string practice squad quarterback as your second string. Tua goes down. Can't use that as an excuse because you decided Scotty Thompson was enough. You as the coach said it was enough. And this goes for the GM too. This is nothing against Chris Grier. Chris Grier should have been gone 2 seasons ago, 3 years ago, before McDaniel was hired. All right. But for me, as a Miami Dolphins fan, this team being where it is today at 5-7, where you have players questioning the toughness of this football team, when you have one of your leaders on defense and Jordan Brooks calling your team soft, when you have John Embry, the tight ends coach, saying, when they asked him, is this team soft? He goes, does the shoe fit? It's up to us to prove that people wrong. He said it. It was a straight up answer. And I have a lot of respect for John Embry yesterday when he came out and said that. And I hope his players heard him, and I hope they show up against the Jets coming up here. We'll see. I mean, I know there's some injuries. We'll talk on that in a little bit. But that was great stuff from John Embry and Anthony Weaver too, just saying, hey, if this is what you consider, whatever, but it sucks that you have to answer those questions. And to me, when you're 3 years into your system, under your regime, with as all this money and draft capital and talent is on your roster, and you are 5-7, about to be knocked out of the playoffs, your rival, your division is already decided last week, December, whatever it was, 2nd. The Buffalo Bills already won the AFC East Championship. Before the season, they were saying, will it be the Jets? Will it be the Dolphins? Buffalo possibly is going to fall off without Stephon Diggs. Jets are about to be eliminated if they're not already. The Dolphins are about to be eliminated. And the Buffalo Bills are riding high. Should Mike McDaniel be in the hot seat? Absolutely. If you go in every year, Dave and Russ, myself, go into with job expectations, and you go into your review, and you almost hit your quarter. You made the playoffs, but you lost. You made the playoffs, you almost hit your quarter, but your sales kind of fell off, and you didn't get it. But now, you know what? Year 3, man, I'm going to hit it. I got everything set up. I'm working extra hours. I'm working overtime. I'm going to do all this. Add that to being stars and signing star players and doing all this shit. And you don't even hit it. You're way behind on your numbers. Do you think you actually continue? No. Your boss didn't say, hey, you know what? You're taking up a spot. I need to get somebody who can execute, who could do their job, and you're not doing it. And McDaniel hasn't done it. Will I be against it if they hire a general manager and the owner says, look, you're going to decide his fate? Give the GM I won't be against that, because if the new GM says, you know what, yes, I could work with McDaniel, I'm okay with that then. But you got to let it to the new GM to do it. But should McDaniel be on the hot seat? Absolutely. His team has failed miserably this season, and there's nothing anybody could say to go, oh well, Tua was hurt. That's not an excuse when you didn't sign a good backup. You decided this backup situation was fine. Your QB room was fine. You know his history. That's malpractice at the highest order. So yes, my opinion as a Dolphins fan, McDaniel should be on the hot seat. Russ, I'll let you start off, and then Stager, you can follow up.
Well, Bobby, thank you for letting me talk for myself. I appreciate that. I do think hot seat. I don't know if you're gonna, fire him yet, but like you said, with all those weapons, you definitely, and all the hype, because it hasn't been. It's not just like this year. The Dolphins were supposed to could compete to win a division. It's been multiple years where everybody's like, oh, this is the year the Dolphins are going to jump. So I would put them on the hot seat. I don't know if you guys are Entourage fans. And
yeah, I've watched it.
The guy has gets eye surgery, and Ari Gold comes in and he writes, see if you can read this. And he puts, get the fuck out. That's what I just like. And I'm with her. We talked about this before, before we went on, I want Mike Vrabel as the Jets coach, and your coach doesn't need to be 6'2", but when you got a guy like Mike Vrabel who's not afraid to check a player, I love that. These guys aren't afraid to get in your face. I think Mike McDaniel's kind of I'm their best friend. I want to be the cool guy, walking around with his little limp and his sunglasses and his nice watches. But with all the expectations, I'd put him on the hot seat. But who are you going to get? Are they gonna let it go or keep on going?
Dave?
Yeah, McDaniel's definitely on the hot seat. What we just let off with what I said the other day on the show was mediocrity. And people can say, oh, McDaniel's led them to a playoff berth. What'd you do with it? You didn't do much. I get it. You still lost. I get it. Tua wasn't in, but I don't know. McDaniel's, to me, amount of hype that went into it. And God, again, I'm here agreeing with Evan. I can't believe I'm back on this network and talking with Evan of all things. Yeah, Daniel should have been an offensive coordinator first. He never was calling plays before as an official offensive coordinator. That is an issue. No one was out there, as Bobby said, as a head coach. It was only the Dolphins, and they acted like they were trying to get 2 steps ahead of the ball game. When realistically, every other team was looking at Miami, going, "Why are you interviewing him? Okay, go ahead. We'll just go ahead and interview our actual coaches we believe could do something." Um, I feel like if Greer needs to go, McDaniel's is a mirror image of him, so they both need to go. That's something that teams rarely do and have success is keep one of them and then try and it just doesn't happen as often. Clean house, get 2 new guys in that building. And that's just I don't believe in keeping one. Fire all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If you're gonna fire one, you gotta fire them both for sure. Or if you're firing the GM, and you're saying, I don't know, maybe like, Scotty, I don't feel too comfortable firing another head coach after 3 years. And, I want to stick with it, maybe it's all good. Well, if that's the case, then you've got to tell the GM, hey man, this is up to you. Don't handcuff your GM to Mike McDaniel. Let your general manager decide. Don't do that. Cause that's an instant failure.
That's a Jets thing.
And here's the truth. Yeah. And here's the truth.
That's a Jets.
Starting over again in 3 years, starting over again in 3 years. I keep seeing that from some people. What the hell are we talking about with Dolphin fans starting over in 3 years? Really? Have we really started over? We've had the same general manager. No, I wouldn't. I wanted Campbell. I would not have fired Campbell. You guys would have fired Campbell. You're comparing Mike McDaniel to Dan Campbell? Are you serious right now? Are you comparing him to Dan Campbell?
That's why there's a song that says Scotty doesn't know.
Yeah. Come on, dude.
I mean, we're seeing that now. Can't really say it's the same. Like you're saying, it's now where Campbell's looking like one of the best coaches in the league.
I've liked Campbell for a long time.
It's not really like a accurate comparison.
No, it's not. But you gotta, look around the league, man. I mean, and again, it's not rinse and repeat because the fact of the matter is Dolphins have not cleaned house. They haven't. It's been the same front office for years.
Yeah.
It's a rinse and repeat. And before that, it was definitely rinse and repeat. You fired the coach, you kept the GM. You fired the GM, you kept the coach. No, it has to be a clean house because the Dolphins haven't done that. And don't pretend that they did. That's the fact. So it's not starting over again. It hasn't been a start over. It's been a continuation with a different guy as the head coach, the same guy as the GM.
I just don't get this hidden love for McDaniels. Like, okay, cool. He's a cool guy off the field. But at the same time, where's the production been? As Bobby said, all this money, all these draft picks.
What did Eddie Murphy say? What have you done for me lately? Oh, but look, last year they were number 1 offense in the NFL because of the Denver game. Let's be real here. And yes, 100%. He's turned Tua into a legitimate quarterback in this league. No joke, nothing whatsoever. He gave Tua his confidence. He made Tua an MVP candidate 2 years in a row at the 8-3 mark. He did that. He gave Tua his confidence. If you're a wrestling fan, same as Triple H giving Ric Flair his confidence after WCW. Awesome. That's great. That speaks volumes. You know what? That does really well as an OC and a QB coach later on. But you got to be the head coach of a football team overall. Your claim to fame can't be what you did one game a year ago, a season almost 2 years ago. And, I gave him this quarterback confidence. You know what? You gave him the confidence. Maybe another coach puts them over the hump with Tua at quarterback. Possibly. Because guess what? That's why I say it's not all on Tua. It's the head coach and the GM. Do I think the Dolphins could win? Let me just say it like this so I make it clear. Do I think the Dolphins could win a Super Bowl with Tua at quarterback? I'm going to be honest. It's just me. Absolutely. If you had a legitimate coach.
Do you think Tua can do what Jared Goff does?
Yeah, because for you, like you were saying, Jared Goff is not what we'd consider an elite quarterback. Him and Jared Goff had almost equal numbers last season. I absolutely think he could be in that same ballpark. This team could be an 11, so forth, 12, 13 win team, and not just a stretch of win. No, like a legitimate team that the Green Bay Packers have a tougher time to play against. Yeah, they could be that type of team if they had legitimate foundation when it comes to front office and the coaching staff. Miami doesn't have that. They don't have it. They don't have a player. The problem with Flores did not give Tua that confidence. He wanted to, he was not interested in, I got to build you up. No, you're a football player. Get there and do your job. Get up and do it. He wasn't into that right then. And maybe now he will be. Where McDaniel was, let me pump you up, man. I believe you have this in you. And he did it. And he should get every credit for that. He turned Tua. He made Tua what people believed Tua was going to be. But what does that equate to now? What have you done for me lately? Absolutely nothing. Your team has regressed. Your players have regressed. How can Skylar Thompson 3 seasons in, now he's an emergency quarterback. So anyway, moving as we talked about McDaniel, and I understand everybody's opinion, and everybody has a right to that opinion. I get it, but and forgive me, let me read Scotty's comments. Let me see here. So what total rebuild? That's absurd. What was the last true total rebuild that produced immediate winner? And Detroit and Houston don't fit that.
What do you mean talking about total rebuild? Detroit is Houston exactly that. What?
Yeah. I don't know what that means because I disagree with him. I think he said that last show, and I disagree with that. Houston is the best example. When you go and you get rid of your quarterback and you draft the quarterback, and then you have a new GM, a new head coach. That's a rebuild. That's a saying, okay, we're just tearing it all down. We're hiring a new front office, a new staff. We're getting our new guys. We're drafting our guys, and we're moving forward. That's a rebuild. Because the Dolphin fan base is not used to a successful rebuild or a rebuild as fast as what Houston did, does not make it not a rebuild. That was a rebuild. That wasn't a retool.
And Detroit wasn't that good.
Exactly. Houston was the worst team in multiple years. They were the worst team until guess what? They fired their GM. They fired their coach. They drafted their quarterback. They hired the guys. They got their quarterback. And what happened? Come on now. Same thing with Detroit. And I'm sorry, Russ, I'll let you go.
Same thing. Detroit wasn't that good. His first year wasn't that great.
Nope.
So
success doesn't have to happen overnight. I'm not saying we need a big, fast thing like Houston or whatever. But no, tear it down, get your guys, move on. Detroit traded a top quarterback for another top quarterback. That's not a total rebuild.
Jared Goff was being kicked out of town.
What? He was the guy.
Jared Goff was being called a bust when he was leaving the Rams. He got traded to the Detroit Lions.
With 2 first-round picks to go
for Matt Stafford. That's not a top quarterback. He became a top quarterback when he came to Detroit. Come on now. What's up, George? George of the Fitz Faithful podcast in the house. Kills it, man. Guys, if you haven't yet, go check out the Fitz Faithful podcast with George. Awesome stuff. Awesome interviews. I mean, I'm so proud of him, man, and the work he's putting in, his growth. Build inside out. I absolutely agree. Build from the trenches, move your way back.
Exact way. I mean, that offensive line is just a bunch of maulers.
Oh, dude.
Like, have fun touching Goff.
Yeah, no, that's what they did it right.
Goff twice, I think, last night, and that was even that. Like, there was no pressures, nothing. It was that, just 2 sacks.
They did it right, man. Panay Sol, the Ragnu right now, Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, St. Brown. I mean, just the work, the stuff they put in. But anyway, always, brother. Okay, we can keep going with the Dolphin stuff, but let's go to NFL.
For sure.
I know. Yeah, get me fired up. But let's talk about the NFL very quick. Okay, so obviously, without having to go too far, you got to think, the teams that could possibly be looking, who coaches are legitimately in the hot seat. You got to look at Jacksonville with Doug Peterson. I mean, where that team was, where they are right now. Obviously, what happened to Trevor Lawrence was devastating. That sucks. It was scary, but again, they weren't doing well before he got hurt. You look at the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, Chicago already got their guy out. The Raiders move on from Antonio Pierce. Brian Daboll's gone. Good is gone. Should be gone. So should their general manager. Zach Taylor, should he be out? Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns. Again, he's a prisoner of the whole Deshaun Watson situation, in my opinion. If he gets fired, he should be picked up right after, if not, So let me ask you guys, with the names that I said, Steger, I'll start with you, Russ, follow up. Any of those names, like, do you go, no, that dude definitely needs to be out? And okay, I'll give you that. One should be gone. One should definitely have another shot. I'll start that way.
So I think if one should be gone, I hate even saying this, but it's Mike McCarthy. The time has run its course in Dallas. Like, Dak Prescott just injured for the year again, and they're going to miss the playoffs after having these loaded rosters year in and year out. I think Dallas needs to let go of McCarthy. Rip the Band-Aid off, get Dak, because how many offensive coordinators, how many offensive guys are you going to bring in there into McCarthy to try to prove that it can work, it can work. McCarthy's offense is the same it was in Green Bay after all those years, even the year he had off. I just don't think it's going to work with that even past it. I think that's one guy that needs to go. The one guy I think that deserves another shot because the former player mentality and that physicality, and I feel like he needs a true quarterback, is Antonio Pierce. Look what Campbell did up in Detroit. We just talked about it, and then finally got a quarterback he can work with. Pierce has had Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. Like it's a balloon, like expelling air and trying to fall apart. That's exactly what the Raiders season has been this year. Get the man a chance to get a franchise quarterback. Good Lord, Mark Davis. Quit selling the team because you're broke and actually spend money on a quarterback. That's what you should do with the money that you sell to the new minority owner of Las Vegas after the minority chunk goes to another owner after Brady. Just go ahead and spend it on a quarterback. For the love of God.
Russ?
Well, I think Doug Peterson's probably done. I wouldn't even say Dable's probably done. I'd let him run it back. I don't know if that's all his fault. I throw it more on the GM, especially for letting Saquon walk right across the border to Philadelphia there. But if you fire the GM, the new GM is probably going to want to bring in his own guy. I'm with Stanger. I think Antonio Pierce just is it's a situation of the own circumstances where he doesn't have a quarterback. He doesn't have he doesn't have a quarterback. That's basically it. You have Aiden O'Connell. So he'll probably get fired because of that 1 year. But how is he supposed to win with Gardner Minshew, who's a service quarterback who could win you a couple games, but is he going to take you to borderline playoffs? No. Aiden O'Connell not going to do that. So I feel bad. I think he'll probably get canned, but Peterson will probably be for sure. I think for me, I don't think Dable should be fired, but if they bring in a new GM, he'll probably be gone. And Antonio Pierce, I think, is gone, but I think he still needs a couple more. Give him another shot. Antonio Pierce used to come to the grocery store I worked at when I was 18. Guy was massive. And I thanked him because he came. This was right after they beat the Patriots. I was bagging his groceries. I said, thank you. He said, why? I said, you beat the Patriots.
Great. No, that's good answers, man.
Can I add in one thing?
Yeah.
I'm going to give a shout out to a coach who looks like he's finally starting to get a groove with his team, getting his quarterback the confidence. Dave Canales with the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, shout out, man.
Right? Looks good.
Bryce Young now looking like that first overall pick. No, 100%. I think that's awesome. And, Canales would probably been in that conversation as well as a possible guy who could have been one and done. But what he's been able to do with Bryce Young.
Games has been really nice.
So that's promising. And I like Bryce Young, man. I'm rooting for the kid, and I'm happy that – shout out to you, man. Good job.
I think that should be obviously you go to Rodgers, you go to Mahomes. But look, Bryce Young got benched, but why you start him right off the bat coming from college? I think I like the Green Bay model. Like now you're seeing.
I'm old school. I agree.
A couple years to go in, you know.
That's right. Sit down.
Rodgers, Bill. Let's not like throw him right in. And as great as Caleb Williams is, now he's on his, third new offensive coordinator and second new head coach, and he'll probably have a new head coach next year that's going to mess him up, and he's going to bring in a new system. And we see, I'm a college football guy. These college football systems aren't as complex. So if we keep on throwing them out, it's not going to work. I mean, it happened to Sam Darnold.
Let me ask you, Russ, very quick, because you just said college football, and I have to ask your opinion on this. I don't think you and I did touch on this at all. Maybe we have off air, but I don't remember. Forgive me. My mind's all over the place. I have to ask you, dude, because I'm a Hurricanes fan. You know this. Man, what's your thoughts on that whole thing with Alabama getting over Miami? Obviously, Miami should have done its job. They were up by 20 points or whatever. They let Syracuse come back, but they only lost by 3. Alabama, 3-loss team, getting the jump over Miami, Clemson, SMU, whatnot. What were your thoughts on that, man? Is it like you're obviously unbiased opinion, outside looking in, but you cover college football, so your thoughts, man, very quick.
I just love college football. Initially,
you too.
Initially, yeah. Stanger loves. I mean, initially, I was like, I'm fine with Bama. I see why they picked them because they played. They're 5. They beat a handful of top 25 teams where Miami hasn't played one single top 25 team. But then when you look at the 2 losses Miami had, and then you look at their final record where Georgia Tech was 7-5 and Syracuse was 9-4.
Well, right now.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like it doesn't look as bad. I know where they're going. It's Alabama. It's a huge brand. Alabama brings those fans travel wherever they go. It doesn't matter. So I know why. And college football is a business now. It's not a student athlete. It's a business. I don't know where they like. I really don't know what they're thinking. I'm fine with both because I would love to see Cam Ward in there, but you can't lose that. But also those 2 losses they have were miserable. The Vanderbilt one wasn't as bad because they played competitive, and Vanderbilt's decent this year. The Oklahoma one was bad. They didn't score a single touchdown against Oklahoma. So that's where I'm at. Now I'm looking back on it. I'm like, oh, you see this, you start thinking about it, this and this. I'm like, yeah, you're going off of who we beat top 25 and who we lost to. But I'm like, you lost to Oklahoma, who is
they're 6-6, right?
6-6, but they're reeling. I mean, their quarterback threw for 68 yards, and they didn't score a touchdown. So I mean, I was a little, but it's just it's a brand. It's Alabama.
It's the brand. I get it. I wanted to make sure you and I were okay. I agree. I said it was the brand. It's Alabama. They haven't realized that Saban's not coaching there anymore. Stager, very quick, man. Your thought on it, very quick. We'll get into predictions here.
Yeah, screw Alabama. I don't care if they're a brand or not. They didn't deserve to be in. There's 4 teams, in my opinion, that should have been in. Either could have been Clemson, it could have been SMU, could have been Miami. My last, but not least, I feel like South Carolina had a strong suit to be in there. They had a hell of a rally to end the season and beat some pretty good teams to do it. I fully think Alabama's only in there because of the brand won't tie. No, I can't stand that crap, man. I feel I wanted this college playoff to be like, okay, we're finally getting a chance to see teams that deserve to be there. Now we're seeing teams get robbed because we're watching a Saban-less Alabama team get in with the Bowers, and they're losing teams like Oklahoma, like Russ said.
I love Kalen DeBoer. I'm a Kalen DeBoer fan. I just don't think they deserve it. And I'm going to throw this out. I think, in my opinion, the 12-team playoff is actually bad for college football.
Boo!
I don't think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with Scott. I can't believe the Hurricanes aren't in. But the following 3 teams that you brought up, Stager, especially South Carolina, they had a chance too. I mean, and you could have gone with any of those teams because I get it. I understand the argument against if you're going to say, okay, Clemson gets in or South Carolina gets in. I can understand that argument because, again, Miami lost the teams they shouldn't have lost. We know their defense is suspect. We know their offense is legit. You know Cam Ward is legit. That's awesome for college football. Cam Ward is the Hurricanes are still in the promos for the college football playoff.
Yep.
They showed him twice in a commercial today, which is crazy. So they already said, oh, they're not getting it, but we're gonna keep promoting them. And then the guy from the head of Michigan who's running the college football committee, which is hilarious to me. But whatever.
But I watched the Canes wear, and I watched it the first time. They doing a great job, and they're talking about the brand of Alabama. I'm like, Miami's a brand too. Like Miami was the best college football team from the 80s to the 2000s. I mean, if you're going the 80s, they're dominant. In the early 2000s, you could say Miami had one of the best college football teams.
No, that's true. I will say to counter that is, it's a what have you done for me? Miami was fallen off the map. I mean, you're thinking about Al Golden and I'm forgetting all the coach, all these other guys that came afterwards, and what they were legitimate. Like they weren't that same team. They're not. The Dolphins was a brand in the 70s and in the 80s and the 90s with Marino, but Miami is not that same brand anymore. The Cowboys, their brand is still surviving. I mean, they're the Alabama of the NFL apparently, because people are still going crazy buying their stuff, but they haven't done a damn thing in how many years. So I get you. You're right. At one point, they were the best team in college football. At one point, I mean, especially everybody wanted to be a Hurricane because you think of the all that, but it's not what it once was. And this absolutely showed it. This showed it. That a 9-3 Alabama team that lost to a 6-6 Oklahoma team, but you guys just brought up with the offense and what they've done. To be over on Miami, it's just criminal. And I mean, again, I would have, if one of those other teams, I would have been like, damn, but that would have made more sense than Alabama. That's just criminal on the part of college football.
And I think all this stuff that we're getting is a making of our own fault. Like you look at the NBA, that now people complain about the ref, and it goes into everything. They complain about the refs. Oh, they missed this call, so now we got to review everything. It's all our fault. And like this, you're like, BCS is bad. Oh, now 14, we want 14. Oh, that's terrible. Now we go to 12 teams. Oh, it's just going to dilute the product on the field, because you're going to let either a 10-2 Miami in who maybe shouldn't have been in there, or a 9-3 Alabama, or a 9-3 South Carolina, or a 9-3 Clemson, or 10-3 Clemson.
Now, I will say this. There's one team that I'm fully on the bandwagon for with that. Boise State Broncos, baby. The Heisman true deserving player.
100%. That was my pick. We had to do like group five, like who's going to be the group 5 champ. I picked Boise State. I'm looking solid right now.
Let's screw Colorado and Travis Hunter. Sure, he's had a good season. What Ashton Gianti is doing
is special, man.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. He's special for sure. All right, let's go into the picks. Obviously, we need to talk.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We talked Detroit. We talked Green Bay. Detroit beat Green Bay. Let's go ahead and start off. Say what?
You have to keep rubbing it in.
I'm gonna give you. I'll rub it in. Yeah, rub it in good. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. I've got the Titans here over Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence gone. It looks like for the rest of the season, obviously. Stager, how do you see this game playing out?
Give me the Mayo boy.
There you go. Will Levis, Tennessee Titans for Stager. Russ?
Oh, it's a must-watch game, Bobby. But yeah, I got the Titans.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, if you're bored. Well, absolutely. I'll be on pregame, so I'll hold it maybe. But Dolphins at Hard Rock, facing the Jets. C.J. Mosley, I believe, is out. Their linebacker, Breece Hall, is doubtful. Sauce Gardner, I believe, is doubtful. Russ, I'll start with you, man. Do you think your Jets could pull off a win in Miami, or do you think the Dolphins will get to 6-7?
I think there's a chance. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose, but I'm going my Jets because I bleed green. I think there's a chance. I think the offense is starting to look better as of late, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 31-17.
31-17?
That I wouldn't be surprised if they get that.
I'm sorry. Oh, did somebody put it in there? Sorry,
Yeah.
Scotty. 31-17 Miami. Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm going with the Jets. I stick with my team through and through. I'm a Jets
Got
fan,
you.
so like it definitely. I'm a loyal fan. If I've been a Jets fan for 33 years of my life.
I got you. I will say, will Travis Hunter play 100? I saw that somebody suggested him play defense in the NFL and have and be a part of some sub packages on offense. I did see that recently somewhere about what teams are thinking. Stager, Jets at Miami. How do you see that playing out?
Both of their seasons have come through as a big ol' bleh. So with that response, I'm saying 22-22 tie.
Oh, come on. Oh, that'd be just so bad.
I mean, that's not how their seasons have gone.
I know. I get it. I will say this. And that's probably giving away my prediction, but I will say this. Miami better not lose against the Jets at Hard Rock. I picked Miami to split the series with the Jets. They better not lose this game at Hard Rock. Especially with the injuries that the Jets are facing. Miami, this should be a win. That's what I'll say. They better not lose. That's all.
He's our Kurt Herbstreit on College Game Day. He's calling the game, so he just has to give us keys to the game.
That's right. Better not lose. With all these injuries, you're at home. All your guys. Most of your guys are all there. You just got some news that Bradley Chubb has started his window to come back. You have a lot of questions around the team talking about soft. Your coaches are having to answer those questions. Your player called you soft. Your linebacker, there's a lot of questions.
Come back though. No, not Chubb. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the other guy you signed in free agency. I'm sorry. Chubb is coming back. Sorry.
He just got his active window. So there's a lot. Miami, and again, what happened against the Packers? Miami cannot afford to drop a game at any way. It could be, it was a 31-30. It was such a great game. Oh, the Dolphins, they put up a fight. You can't lose to the 3-9 Jets. Not when they're I'm not picking on Russ. I'm just saying, the way they've imploded this season, the drama, the distractions, everything that's going on with the New York Jets, there is no way you should lose this football game. And if you lose this game, God help you. Moving on. Atlanta at Minnesota, excuse me. The Minnesota Vikings. I got the Vikings going 11-2. Dave, how do you see that playing out?
Well, I went back and did a little research on this one. I wanted to do the whole Kirk Cousins revenge game on it, but whenever Kirk Cousins comes out and has a game like he did the week prior, which was absolute garbage, I think he comes back and rallies. I think he tries to beat the Vikings. It's not going to be some like blowout or anything. I think it's going to be something like a 25-24, 24-23 type game where I think the Falcons come and edge them out because the Falcons still have a lot of talent on that team. That's why it was such a disappointing season so far looking at their record. And I'm like, they had all this talent, all those draft picks, and they have that record? And NFC South is still up for grabs. That ugly NFC South still up for grabs, man. So I think the Captain Kirko comes back to Minneapolis with all his gold chains. I think he steals a dub to keep the Dirty Birds playoff hopes alive.
Russ?
Yeah, I got the Vikings. I'm rooting for Sam Darnold a lot this year because I think he just got a bad hand with the Jets. So I like Sam Darnold. I'm rooting for him. I got the Vikings.
All right.
Playing my Tyler violin for seeing ghosts.
New Orleans Saints taking on the New York Giants. Giants are 2-10. Saints are 4-8. I've got the Saints. Can't see it. Can't see the Giants winning, guys. Either you pick the Giants to win this game.
The Saints.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Carolina Panthers. We just talked about how they've looked better the past few games. Bryce Young playing like the first overall pick, at least showing shades of it. They're going against the 10-2 Eagles. As much as the Panthers have looked good, I just don't see it. I'm going to roll with the Eagles on this. Russ, am I wrong?
No, I'm with you.
Stayer?
I'm going with the league MVP, Saquon Barkley, and the Eagles
I
are
like
probably
that.
going to win
I like
about
that you said it like that.
touchdowns and more.
There you go. Cleveland Browns at 3-8 taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I think this will be a fun game. I think this might be a closer game than some people expect. The Browns are really putting up a fight. Jameis Winston, a lot of fun to watch. He has some of that Fitz magic in him to me, in just regards of willing his team to be competitive. I'm going to roll with the Pittsburgh Steelers, though. Russ?
Let's bite the W. Let's
Oh,
go. The Browns. Let's go. The Browns. I think, Jameis could either, he could win you the game, or he can do what Fitzpatrick does and throw 4 picks. But I'm going to say, let's go Browns.
There you go, Dave.
Hey, to steal my thunder. Yeah, I'm actually going to pick Cleveland because they got the. I just feel like Jim Schwartz is a hell of a defensive coordinator. He showed how to shut down Russell Wilson in that Steelers offense. And then Winston, famous Jameis, is proving to people right now, I can be a starting quarterback in this league. I can do this.
Yes.
And he upset Pittsburgh on Thursday Night Football in the cold, in the snow. So, and then plus, Nick Chubb has now gotten his legs back underneath him. He has now gotten a couple games. He's ready to go. And I do think, I know Russ and the Pittsburgh offense just exploded last game. I get that. But Cleveland still has some, no pun intended, some dogs on that defense. But Myles Garrett and you got Greg Newsome and Ward and Delpit. You got some guys on that squad that can ball. And I feel like Cleveland at least keeps it close, but they grab the dub.
All right, going on to Raiders taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We just talked about Antonio Pierce possibly being on the hot seat. They're 2-10 on the season. Buccaneers still fighting for a playoff spot. They're at 500 at 6-6. Jameis Winston, just talk about him. He could be that Baker Mayfield type role where, he was a backup and now he gets himself into a starter role next year. Look what Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold definitely is going to be in that conversation as well. I think the Buccaneers win this game. I think it may be a fun one for sure. The Raiders always put up a fight, it looks like, but I'm going to roll with the Bucs. Dave?
Yeah, I'm going with Captain Baker. He just the way he rallies his team, no matter who's playing around him or not. The guy just has grit. He reminds me, and I'm not saying he has the same talent as this guy, but the same toughness and grit is like Brett Favre, man. He can get pelted, get taken out of the game for a play, come back, and then throw a rifle a touchdown for 40 yards the next play after. And Baker is the real deal, and he puts up a couple tutties, as they call them, against the Raiders.
Russell?
Yeah, I got the Bucs. Yeah, I like Baker. I mean, I'm with you, Baker. He did that at Oklahoma. His players love him, and he's doing it in Tampa Bay.
Going on, we got the Seattle Seahawks at 7-5, traveling to Arizona 6-6. Again, this could it decide the division? The Rams are, they got a tough game. We're going to talk about just right after, but I'm going to roll with the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will jump to 8-5 over the Cardinals, even though it is in Arizona. I'm rolling Seattle. Russ?
Yeah, I got Seattle too. Another shot in the heart, another former Jets quarterback, but also another reason for maybe not starting a guy and letting him sit. Geno Smith started with the Jets, didn't go well. Was it IK punched Fitzpatrick? He punched Geno, and that's why we got Fitzpatrick, thank God. But, I think it's definitely why broke his jaw. But a reason that you should let him sit and learn. Now, Geno is a lot longer than these other guys, but, we're now seeing Geno at full time to learn an NFL offense coming from West Virginia, which is run and shoot. And now look, what he's doing. So I got the Seahawks.
Give me the Red Sea in Phoenix. I think The Arizona Cardinals grab a dub here, make the NFC West a little more interesting.
Mm.
I think the Cardinals have been creeping along and getting really close losses. They've been losing like last week. They lost to Minnesota, and it was very minuscule stuff they could fix. I think they pull it out and they take down a division rival. I'm calling it. I think this is the Marvin Harrison Jr. breakout game.
Ooh, interesting. All right, we'll roll through these. Got about 4 games left. Buffalo at the Rams. The Buffalo Bills, of course, already secured a playoff spot, but they're looking to secure that number 1 seed. They're chasing the Kansas City Chiefs. I got the Buffalo Bills over the Los Angeles Rams. Rams aren't no joke. Rams are right there too in that NFC West. But I think they take a step back. I think the Buffalo Bills will pull out a win here. Dave.
Yeah, I just think Josh Allen's on another level right now. Like that guy he's evolved as a quarterback as long as we've watched him in the NFL, and I just feel like this year has been really special for him, and it's showing like okay, they traded Stephon Diggs and they got rid of other people, and then now they brought in guys like Mac Hollins, Keon Coleman, and paired them up with the 2 tight ends, and I feel like. And James Cook has evolved really well too. Especially last year, he came on hot. Now he's continued this year. Listen, I think LA Rams next year, I think their defense is going to be a force to reckon with. They're very young, they're very raw, and that's where I feel like their Achilles heel is. Where they're playing a guy like Josh Allen, who's big, strong, and can run and pass. And is it in LA or Buffalo?
It's in LA.
Oh, they're playing in a dome. Josh Allen, have a day. Stafford may go in a shootout with him. Who knows? He does that. He has the ability to do that with Puka and Cup and Puka. I just think Buffalo wins by like a touchdown or 10 points. I feel like they're going to go in there and just kind of control the clock and be able to kind of move the ball at will because of the young defense. The Rams just doesn't have enough experience right now.
Russ? Yeah, I got the Bills. Short and sweet. I got the Bills.
I'm trying to be all professional and everything, and you're over here like, yeah, I got the Bills.
I don't need to keep on. You hit
it. There you go. Chicago Bears taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Russ, I'll start with you, man. Do you have the Bears or the Niners? I'm rolling with the Niners.
Yeah, I got the Niners.
So, what usually happens after a coach gets fired?
Everything for the
Jets. They win. The team starts to, yeah.
I think the Bears pull a dub out, especially now because McCaffrey, he's back gone. Jordan Mason, IR, he's gone. I get San Francisco produces running backs, but they just took a big hit in that backfield. I think Chicago pulls out the dub, and it's like eating motor oil that just got changed out of my truck. Like it tastes nasty saying that, but I think the Bears pull out the dub. I think Thomas Brown, he's really liked in that locker room. Like the guys have rallied around him big time. From what I've heard and read, and I feel like Thomas Brown and the Bears are going to go get a dub versus the 40 Ainter's.
All right, now here's an important one. Here is the LA Chargers traveling to Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs 11-1, Chargers 8-4. I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I think the Kansas City Chiefs have been teetering on losing games. There's just something up with Kansas City. They don't seem like the Kansas City of old. They're 11-1. I'm not sleeping on that. But they don't seem like a legitimate 11-1 team. They look like one of those teams that are going to get upset in the divisional round of the playoffs. Like the shock, even if they're in the wild card, a one and done team. The Chargers defense is legit. They do just enough on offense to win. I mean, that's another team that traded all their weapons away. We're like, who's Justin Herbert going to throw to? They're doing just fine. They're killing it right now. They're 8-4, but I think they shocked the world. I think they beat Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. Dave?
Yep, I'm following suit. Big game Jim. The guy has a knack for stepping up in big games and having his team come through. And what better way to make a stamp in the division in your first year back in the NFL since you last been in there to go up against Andy Reid, the defending world champs, and then say, knock, knock. You have a plan until you get punched in the mouth per Mike Tyson. So I think big game job, Bob, and I think the old Sunshine QB in Justin Herbert get it done.
Russell,
I'm with both of you. I think just
Good sweep.
Yeah. That's usually not a good. That's not a good thing, actually. But I mean, I think they're just kind of teetering on too much. And Jim Harbaugh, the guy's a big game coach, and that defense is stout. I think they're bound to lose a couple games. So, and I think this is one of them.
It is a divisional game. That's the other thing right there. They know each other very well, new coach or not. Then we got Monday Night Football. The 4-8 Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Dallas Cowboys at 5-7.
An ass of a game.
I think this is the game that rolls heads in Dallas. I got the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night, prime time, national television for the world to see. And this could be the game that costs officially Mike McCarthy his job. Russ, where do you stand on this game?
I'm sticking with the Bengals. I said it last week. I think that offense, I think they're just getting it's just getting too much. They're bound to win. I don't think Dallas's defense is as good as it's been advertised. So I think Burrow's going to go off. Chase is going to go off. So I got the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm going with Joe Cool. I think the Bengals get a dub here. I think they go ahead and take care of business in Dallas. But, my God, at least how do you not flex the Chargers in Kansas City to Monday Night Football at least? Just move it one day and give everyone extra preparation for that time. Oh, my God. You're forcing us to watch that game? The last game of the week? Come on.
Oh, man. Huh. Well, that about wraps it up here on the Checkdown. Catch me tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast. We throw up our fantasy booking card for WWF Attitude Era versus WWE Modern Era, me and Josh Kimmel. So we're excited about doing that. Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we'll have the Dolphins pregame show, and then followed 8 p.m. Eastern, the Dolphins postgame show, win, lose, or draw. Don't miss that. You catch Russ on Wednesday nights for On Deck. I think he's talking Yankees. It might be maybe depending what the breaking news is.
Yankees, but I think it's going to be Soto. So
yeah, me too.
Listen, 2 episodes in.
It could be Yankees and Soto. So I mean that. Hey,
either way, I'll just say last 2 shows. I mean, a lot of people were watching. 800 on one, 500 on another. Following this Juan Soto news. So guys, tune in to On Deck to see Russ. He breaks down everything baseball, but definitely has been zoned in on this Juan Soto situation and what's going on there. Dave Stager catch every week on the Checkdown, and he might float around here or two on some shows, depending on what's available and whatnot. But guys, we appreciate you all watching. If you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Bobby Melendez. That's Dave Stager, Russ Morgan. Appreciate you all tuning in. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Rubber time.